Welcome to episode 244 of Empty the Bench on the Empty the Bench podcast network. He's Tom Albano. I'm Nick Morgasen. Follow Empty the Bench on social media at ETB Sports, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at ETB Sports. Follow the Empty the Bench podcast network at ETB Network, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Make sure you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel as we get closer to 1,000 subscribers every day. YouTube.com/ETB Network. Make sure you listen wherever you get your podcasts. All platforms. I could spend a million hours listing them, but we're based on all platforms as well. Also, the network and our show presented by Playback. Watching sports is more fun with others, but we spend too much of our time watching alone. Playback is a virtual space where communities can stream live sports together with everyone perfectly synced up. Creators can hop on stage, deliver their own play-by-play analysis and commentary, and invite members up for Q&A. Playback makes watching sports fully interactive and a social experience. From playing fantasy sports, repping your favorite players and teams, and watching with the commentators or communities you care about. Win or lose, sports are best enjoyed together. Join our community by going to playback.tv/ETB Network to find out more, including our live stream schedule. Well, if you're watching this episode, we're probably in the middle of doing another one of these right now, watching the semifinal action.
Yeah. U.S. and Serbia rematch.
So we've been having fun doing USA basketball. We have some WWE streams starting very soon. Planning on looking to do NXT and Raw for a couple weeks straight.
SmackDown and Raw.
I mean, SmackDown and Raw. Thank you. You know better than me. I don't know that space very well. But yeah, we're looking to do those Mondays and Fridays for a couple weeks. So some shoulder programming on Playback. So make sure you check us out.
There will be a fight study next week, trying to finalize a date. I think given some behind-the-scenes scheduling, it looks like it might be Thursday, the 15th. Time to be determined.
Yeah, just trying to figure out a lot. Let's put it this way. This time last year, we didn't have this much content here. Now, with everything that we have here, scheduling has become more difficult. It's a good problem to have, by the way. But with new shows coming, and I'll talk about this more at the end of the show, because now I can talk about some of it. We have 2 football shows starting fairly soon within a month span. So
one of them, if you're a subscriber to ETB, you'll be very familiar with just with a rebranding. The other one is a completely new show.
Yeah, so we're going to cover both college football and the NFL. I'll get more into that at the end of the show, but let's talk about this. So we have a lot of topics to get into this show, including the White Sox are terrible. I'll just leave it at that. Yeah, they almost broke an incredibly bad record. And then also in baseball, a sad but a happy ending to a story, which we'll get into with Freddie Freeman and his 3-year-old son. I thought it was important to discuss it. Charles Barkley again in the news, but not for the reason you thought he was going to be in the news.
Yeah, knuckleheads.
Yeah, exactly. Some mixed reports, and Tom reminded me of this story last week, which I totally forgot. Mr. NBA forgot about an NBA story. So we'll get into some mixed reports on Steph Curry, and I'll tell you whether I think it's BS or not, because I think my BS meter is going off a little bit on that. Also, Team USA basketball, which we've been watching on the Playback streams. Also, Brandon Aiyuk, a lot of rumors and speculation. You know that it's football season when the fun trade rumors and people not reporting to camp is now coming out.
Right. Well, we already had the Jordan Love, Tua, and CeeDee Lamb situations. And now Brandon Aiyuk's getting into the mix. Maybe not to that extreme, but it's uncertain. We're a month till the start of the season, and it's uncertain, basically, if he'll be playing for San Francisco.
Right. And, well, now we officially know the Patriots are out, but I'll leave that more to when we get to the story. And then we'll finish the show with my favorite type of topic, sports media, because there's been a ton of it. So, all right, let's get underway. Let's talk about the White Sox. Yes, we're leading with Major League Baseball. I know, shock, we're leading with baseball.
Well, we should during baseball season, but maybe this is not exactly the headline that certain fans in Chicago would want. So the White Sox, the other day, finally defeated the Oakland A's. and that snapped their losing streak at 21 consecutive games. To show you how bad that is, that ties a modern American League record for longest losing streak. Ties them with I think it's the 1988 Orioles. Yeah, that team with Cal Rivenal had a 21 game losing streak very early on in their season. It also is the second longest losing streak in modern MLB history. The longest streak, the one they fell just short of, I think was 23 games done by the 1961 Phillies. There are a couple of more records that are higher than that. I think it's like the Cleveland Spiders.
You're talking about the 1899 or
the
record or whatever?
1880s and 1890s. Yeah, pre-modern MLB. When I say modern MLB, I go back to 1901.
Right. I mean, so basically you could say the White Sox...
You suck!
Yeah, basically.
Because that's what they were. I mean, they went 3 straight weeks. Well, actually, let me take that back. With off days included, it was 3 straight weeks of games, but they went 27 days without putting a W in the win column.
They had not won a game until Tuesday night, Nick. They had not won a game, and from the All-Star break on, they were winless. This is their first win of the second half.
I need to go back to one thing because I heard you discuss it on Hitting for the Cycle. I don't know if we did it here. We might have when we did the trade deadline. Crochet, their player on the White Sox.
Idiot.
Yeah, idiot. And like that adds to like the pile up of what's going on there.
And I'll reiterate the points that I talked about with Ryan on Hitting for the Cycle. I'll actually be on Hitting for the Cycle tomorrow too, this time with Ben Cruz. I'll reiterate the point I said with Ryan. I understand he's on an innings limit. He was coming back from, I believe, a surgery. I think it might have been a Tommy John. So obviously he wouldn't want to, put himself to the point where he's going to harm himself again. But number one, you had an opportunity to get off of one of the suckiest franchises, not just this year, in Major League Baseball history, a team that is still on pace to break the 62 Mets record for most losses in a season. You had an opportunity. Like, look, I know what his stance is. Like, okay, so if I'm going to, work my limit even more, if I get traded to a contender, I want my extension now. Like, you had an opportunity. Every baseball player's dream. Like, I get he doesn't want to overwork himself to the point where he harms himself coming back his first season coming back from the surgery, but it's every player's dream to play in the playoffs. It's every player's dream to play in the World Series. You had the opportunity to go to a contender, either a guaranteed division winner or somebody in the wild card mix trying to get one of those last playoff spots. You're telling me you don't want that. You're telling me you wanted the extension now and not the opportunity to really show what you have. And Ryan pointed something out because Max Scherzer did it a few years ago. You're telling me you wouldn't move to the bullpen to limit your innings, but at the same time be on a contender. Like, are you kidding me?
The one difference I'll say with Max, not for Crochet, because Crochet is a much younger player, so he needs to, in my opinion, give in a little more because his career will be on the longer side. When Scherzer, you're talking about the Nationals run, right? When they won the World Series. So I kind of get it partially with Scherzer because he's a veteran. He's used to being a creature of habit for all those years. Now, he should have gone to the bullpen. I think eventually he did go to the bullpen, if I'm not mistaken, because they needed him like in an all-hands game, basically in that World Series. But with Crochet, he was wrong. He's 100% wrong. He's a young guy. Go to another team, build a portfolio on another team, a resume on another team, then go get the contract extension.
Like this tells me, Nick, like the fact that he wants it now and not the postseason. If I was a GM, I'd say, are you not confident in your skills enough to...
It's not even that. It's, do you want your money or do you want to compete on a team to win?
Right, because the White Sox are not that. The White Sox are a you-know-what storm of just complete terror. It's
just say it. They were a shit show.
Headline after bad headline. It's to the point where, I don't know if you saw Bando's breakdown the other day, but Zan was talking about how they are trying to get people into, I think it's U.S. Cellular Field. They are trying every which way to get them into U.S. Like they're offering like $5 food vouchers just to get people into the ballpark because who wants to watch this crap? And the only reason, Nick, that I think they actually won a game is the A's jinxed themselves. I don't know if you saw that tweet about how their warm-ups, they were playing 22 by Taylor Swift.
By the way, to show you're actually an authentic baseball fan, you're actually one naming rights behind. It's actually guaranteed Rate Field now, but it used to be. You and I will remember it as U.S. Cellular Field because when they were the good playoff team, like especially 2005, when they made the World Series, it was U.S. Cellular Field. But my point is, this team is so bad. It's a shit show. Let's just be real. This organization stinks.
Mm-hmm. And the whole thing with Crochet puts him at odds with Chris Getz, the general manager of the team, who, like, oh my God, how bad it's been there. And then the manager, Pedro
Grafoli.
Yeah. The fact that he just recently mandated batting practice and running. I didn't know as a major league player you had to mandate batting practice and running.
Well, all right, let's talk about that for a second. So, certain veterans on all teams across Major League Baseball, sometimes they won't take batting practice or they won't do certain things because they're creatures of habit. Sometimes, after many years of playing, all right, I don't need batting practice or I'm tired or whatever. I'll do my own. I'll go down to the cage because a lot of stadiums now under the stadium now have cages built under technology-wise, so they can go down there and do it on their own if they really wanted to. But that is weird. I will give it to you that like you had to mandate batting practice and running and all this stuff. But the one thing that I think we're overlooking too is we had a White Sox A's series. I can't imagine what the TV ratings for A's White Sox was.
I can't wait for this weekend when it's White Sox Cubs and both teams are kind of in the toilet.
Right, but the Cubs at least have some named players. What do the White Sox have? I mean, they traded. Did they let guys away for salary? I don't even remember. Or was that the Astros? No, that was the Astros.
That was the Astros.
But the White Sox, I'm surprised they haven't dumped salary yet, like the Astros have.
Well, I think the Crochet move kind of screwed up all their plans.
Right, I think they could have got a lot of back in return. It was like the Dylan Cease move with the Padres last year. I mean.
Although they did make a trade before the deadline. I don't know if you saw the meme going around. Miguel Vargas going from the Dodgers to the White Sox. And just the sad look that he had in the ball. I feel for him. Like, imagine going from the NL West favorite to going to the worst team in baseball.
That's one of those where you're just like, oh, God, why am I being punished and go to the White Sox? What did I do?
And he did nothing. And now he has the mandated running and everything. Like, what did this guy do?
I don't know, but the way I look at this is I personally blame Major League Baseball because they don't mandate all their teams to try and really put an effort.
Well, then let's call for what it is, who we should be blaming, and that's Jerry Reinsdorf.
Well, okay. You just reminded me because I was going to go back to that. Jerry Reinsdorf is what, 94, 95 years old at this point? Like, he's closer to the ground than he is to being on Earth. I mean, but I know he's
88. Thank you.
Oh, he's 88? Okay. Close enough. Okay, so I aged him like 7 years. Okay. My point is, he is not going to be around to see a White Sox title. Let's just be real at this point.
I mean, think about this, Nick. I mean, I go back to the Jeff Passan tweet, and I'll bring it up again tomorrow with Ben on Hitting for the Cycle. Just years ago. Remember, they were sucking all that time in the 2010s, but then they were getting like some Yoan Moncada,
You're talking about the contracts. Yeah.
Luis Robert, who's still on the team, Tim Anderson. And like they might be slowly forming pieces here that they could be an NL Central powerhouse in the 2020s. Oops, that tank is only going to turn into a 10, 15, 20-year tank now.
Yeah, about that. Now they're all screwed. And they have no fans that want to be in the stadium.
Think about every bad move they've had. Think about everything from, Tony La Russa being brought out of retirement to manage the team, him conflicting with the young clubhouse, Tim Anderson, like I mentioned, all the drama and trouble
flip.
on him, the bat flip, the stuff with Donaldson when Donaldson was on the Yankees. This is just an absolute. And now Crochet and now he and Getz are going there. Pedro, the manager with the mandate. It has been nightmare after nightmare the last few years. And honestly, and Zan kind of said it on his show, there's only one solution at this point. Let the season play out. Maybe get that record, that dubious record of most losses in a season. And then I don't know if Reinsdorf is going to do this, but him or whoever the president of baseball operations is, wipe out.
They got to blow it up.
Gets gone. Pedro gone. Anybody who's on that, who's going to be a free agent at the end of the season on that list, no extension, gone. You got to blow it up. You got to wipe it out.
So you were talking about fans. I looked it up. They're 27th in Major League Baseball. So they're not at the bottom, by the way, which is weird.
Well, the A's, I'm sure, are going to be at the bottom.
Well, I don't know how much I really want to. I guess it's the A's are in the headlight. Did you see the F. John Fisher chants that were going on at the game?
I mean, look, this was an opportunity. The White Sox-A's series, Nick, was an opportunity for two fan bases who are absolutely miserable to come together and bond in the misery of their ownerships.
I mean, I saw the bags on the heads, too, which was really funny. I mean, so the White Sox are averaging 16,709 fans per game, which, believe it or not, and this I'm not insulting this league when I say that's more than some WNBA games. Still, what does that tell you? And I think the WNBA product is better than the White Sox right now, to be quite honest.
Some Nick may even argue that the WNBA product is better than Major League Baseball's product.
Well, I agree. For a lot of the teams, it is. So it says, that was at home, but they're averaging 22,263 per game overall. But I don't know, man. This is a tough series. I would love to see what the gambling odds were on those games, too. I saw a Bleacher Report tweet go out where it said if you faded the White Sox for $100, like you would have won like $700,000 or something. Imagine if you faded the White Sox. You'd be rich.
It's not good. And, I'm really curious to see if they will end up breaking the 62 Mets record.
You know who's been funny also? Ozzie Guillen, who's on their and...
Thank you for reminding me. Like, I know Ozzie, towards the end of his tenure in both Chicago and that failed stint in Miami, things were not good. But the fact that you picked Pedro over him when Pedro, did he even have any managerial experience?
No. So he was on a coaching staff. I mean, have you noticed lately that a lot of the managers they pick have no managing experience whatsoever?
Yeah.
I mean, who was it in Chicago before they brought in? It was the catcher, David Ross.
Yeah.
No but they say catchers are the best managers, which I don't know where they brought that up from, but
I think Ross was a respected, well enough president.
Yeah, but he got kicked out for who was the Craig Counsell, who was doing a shit job himself.
Right.
Should have stayed in Milwaukee. Should have stayed in Milwaukee. I mean, I don't know. These two teams stink. It's going to be tough to watch these two. When you're seeing F. John Fisher chants going around for Oakland fans. And guess what? Have fun playing in a AAA stadium in Sacramento next year.
Well, Nick, did you see the 2025 schedule? How jarring it was to see ATH for the Athletics, because what their future is, Major League Baseball is just like, I don't know.
I mean, where's the banner? Because he deserves to be called out.
Oh, no.
I can't find it at the moment. I don't even have... there it is. Thank you. That's the one I was looking for. Because it's his fault, partially, too. Like, he's not holding John Fisher to any accountability. He doesn't hold any owners to accountability. I know what you're going to say, though. Well, the owners pay the salary of the commissioner, blah, blah.
One, that, and two, remember, you know how desperately MLB wants to get to Vegas.
I understand that, but so you're just going to play shit baseball for 2 to 3 years until you get to that point? You're going to have no fans left.
Major League. Look what happened in Major League.
I get it, but it's just terrible baseball. All right, I'm done with baseball. Actually, we're not done with baseball. Let's move to a better story, I guess. Okay, so Freddie Freeman's 3-year-old son. This was a jarring story to begin right off the top. His 3-year-old son was in the hospital for 9 to 10 days.
He was
I
away from the
had
team the whole time.
what?
He was away from the team the whole time too.
Yes, and I'm trying to look up the diagnosis, what it was. If, but basically, it was jarring. He shows up to the media, and he can't hold himself together. But I don't blame him. Do you?
No.
Like,
What
I
do you?
found it. It's Guillain-Barré syndrome is the name of the disease. He was hospitalized over the past week. It's a rare neurological disorder that causes a rapid weakening of muscles.
Yeah, social media posts. Freddie actually released a couple of social media uh posts statements alongside his wife Chelsea that Maximus, the name of their son, went into full body paralysis and was rushed to the hospital to quote reinforce his lungs. Like,
Yeah, so basically they said his lungs, like he couldn't breathe at all. That's what was going on. They were scared because they had no idea what was going on. And I think you said this, and I had known this too. Like he's had prior physical ailments
the son, yeah.
before, but to have Guillain-Barré syndrome, which now I've actually heard of, now that I found the name of it.
It attacks the nerves. There's no people recover that there's no cure, but like try to imagine that kind of condition that the poor boy went through. Full body paralysis. Your lungs basically
Stop working.
giving up on you, right? Like,
so he's away from the team 9 to 10 days, which I don't blame, by the way. He's got to go be with his son in the hospital. Comes back, bravely talks to the media, which he did not have to. Can hold it together, gets to the game, gets a hit in the game finally. And by the way, it goes to show, because everyone thinks like athletes and guys on different teams, like it's all competitive. It's like there's like we're not supposed to be friendly and blah 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 blah. He gets to first base. Bryce Harper's the first one to greet him. First base when he gets a hit.
All you need to do is watch an All-Star game to see how these guys can be with each other. I mean, Nick, the Yankees and Mets, when we were growing up, it was always the competitiveness and you're not supposed to like the other side. But this past Subway Series, granted, I know we don't want to remember it much given the results of those games, but right before that first part of the Subway Series, I think the one they were over in Queens for, you see the Yankees, the Mets now have Harrison Bader,
Severino,
and like everybody's like greeting and hugging each other. It's like,
knew the guard changed when Yankees and Red Sox players, when they used to hate each other. They were not allowed to do anything. Like they're greeting before the games, Yankees and Red Sox players. I mean, like
I think part of it, whether you think it's for better or worse, the competitive drive. And I shouldn't say the competitive drive because everybody wants to get to the playoff, wants to get to the world. But like the intensity and the hatred,
it's not as there anymore.
It's not, no.
But like Bryce Harper came out and said, I was like, or they said Bryce Harper was one of the first to like really be texted in check. Like that just goes to show you that like not everybody is out to competitively beat each other up.
No,
as an athlete,
that these athletes are humans, and
I would hope so.
These athletes are humans, whether or not. By the way, I'm just going to go on to that before I talk about Freddie. But whether you like him for anything that goes on the field, his intensity on the field, or the antics he's had, that Bryce Harper is a hell of a guy, and there's a reason he is one of the faces of baseball. And Freddie Freeman, he is one of the faces of baseball the same way, one of the best hitters of this modern generation of baseball, baseball players, and just a stand-up, excellent guy. He's loved in Atlanta. He's loved in Los Angeles. I don't know really anybody who doesn't like Freddie Freeman.
I mean, I the one thing I will say is I feel bad for Atlanta fans because I thought he was going to stay in Atlanta.
Right.
But I think that they understand that in a tough situation for a guy, they're not going to get on him for stuff like that because the guy has been pure class, whether, like you said, it was in Atlanta or now in LA. But it's a tough spot as an athlete trying to take care of your family, pay the bills, do everything you got to do, and you find out your son has a life-threatening disease, and it's
not the first time the son's battled ailments like this.
I mean, I think Freddie said at one point they weren't sure what was going to happen at one point, which is kind of a scary thought to really think about.
I love Freddie, man.
Yeah, no, he's one of the better players and one of the nicer guys in the league. All right. Now let's move on to the NBA.
Now we can be knuckleheads.
Yeah, so I said at the beginning of the episode, I said Charles Barkley's in the news, but not for the reason you think he's in the news.
Yeah, guess who's back? Back again. He's not retiring. Charles Barkley is apparently going to stay with TNT, supposedly, even if WBD and Turner lose the NBA. Of course, that litigation still going to be going on.
Pending litigation, as they say in the business.
Yeah.
This shocked me a little bit when I saw this headline from Jimmy Traina and Andrew Marchand, who are usually 99% on it or 99.9% on it when they report something in the media. I don't understand. Charles Barkley came out and said, I spoke to ESPN, I spoke to NBC, I spoke to Amazon to go be on their NBA coverage. Now you're going to stay at TNT. I understand he's got a 10-year, $210 million contract, which, by the way, NBA is stupid. I'm just going to say that right now. NBA and
TNT. You mean TNT?
Well, both, because they control the contractual rights to everything. But you're right. WBD is stupid because they signed all those guys past the NBA rights deal.
They assume that we'll just get the NBA again when the media rights come up, and then Zaslav said the magic words that we've been repeating.
Right, but here's the thing, and you know this. Whether it's I'll even use the example of UFC and PFL, all that stuff. No one signs rights for their media guys past the deals. That just doesn't happen anymore.
It's not supposed to. So this is where the second part of the headline comes in, because this is a separate story from NFL announcing that came in response to this news about Barkley staying with TNT. And that is Turner and WBD are basically talking about what they can do for Barkley, Shaq, etc. When it comes to if Turner ends up losing NBA games. And now the idea that's being floated around is TNT could rebrand inside the NBA to become a sports variety show. It would basically be the same cast, but they would just do not just NBA, they would do all sports. And it would be
No, don't. I swear, I won't watch this. I don't care if it's the same people, and because everyone's framing it as the NBA on TNT, but it's a variety show, and I'm like, no. This is like how desperate they are to keep the brand of what they're trying to keep on TV. First of all, why would you keep these guys? They're NBA guys. Shaq's an NBA guy. Charles, Kenny. Well, Ernie's staying at WBD regardless.
Yeah.
That was always his plan because he can do some of the baseball playoffs. He can do March Madness.
And that's the thing. These guys technically could still do March Madness, even though really I think
it's 1 month a year, though, as Nick D pointed out to me the other day. But what else are you going to do?
I really don't know. I'm trying to imagine these guys talking about other sports. Now, granted, maybe they do follow other sports. Maybe they're not as the expert level because, like you said, they are former NBA players. But, maybe they follow the NFL so they could talk a little bit about the NFL. But it's not going to hit the same. I know it's not going to hit the same.
Do you really want to hear Shaq and Kenny and Charles talking NFL?
Charles could talk golf.
Okay, fine. Actually, that might be another thing they could do too when they get those TNT golf matches. Or the funny thing that came out when we were doing the playback stream, think he could do the 5 exclusive Savannah Banana games that they got.
Oh, we'll talk about that in a little bit.
But basically, this is stupid. This is a bad idea. I don't know if you watch Shark Tank at all. Kevin O'Leary, whenever he says an idea is bad, take it behind the barn and shoot it, is what he says when an idea is so bad that it's going to zero. I'm taking a Kevin O'Leary line. Take this idea, bring it behind the barn, and shoot it. It's a terrible idea. I don't want to hear a variety show from 4 NBA vets in the visit. I just don't. Think about I'll give you another example from the media. Do you remember when FS1 was in its infancy? Do you remember when they had that variety show with all the athletes? Do you remember that? When they had Andy Roddick and Donovan McNabb?
Oh my god.
That's I have good memory of that. Yes.
I remember because I was gonna say I remember the Sports Center guy from Canada.
Well, that was Jay and whatever. That was the Sports Center in Canada. Jay and Dan. And then they separated actually not about 2 years ago or whatever. But yes, when they had Donovan McNabb, Andy Roddick, and a few other, and they were trying to do it.
Wait, do you remember the show hosted by Regis Philbin?
Yes, that was the one with Katie Nolan. Yeah, that was with Katie. That's how Katie Nolan really got her start.
That's right.
So, basically, that show was a flop because no one wanted to hear Andy Roddick talking about baseball or the NFL or Donovan McNabb talking about the NBA. Like, it was a flop.
Could you imagine Charles Barkley talking about the UFC on a show like this?
That might be entertaining, actually. The difference is Charles Barkley can make anything entertaining. That's the difference. And
I guess that's why they want to try to make something for him, because he can make anything entertaining.
Right. So that FS1 show was a complete flop. It died quickly. This is that same thing. Don't be an FS1. I'm begging. Don't be an FS1. It failed massively. Don't do it. I swear. Charles Barkley can go do whatever he wants.
Yeah, he basically has that right.
Except for a CNN show with Gayle King. That was a complete failure. But any sports content he wants to be part of, I heard WBD might put him on hockey. That would be fun, actually.
That would be funny to see.
But, I mean, he's not going to give you much analysis if that's what you're asking for.
No, but if something ridiculous happens or a fight breaks out, he'll probably have all sorts of hyperbole or metaphors for it.
You know what? They should just create something with Knucklehead as a segment on just whatever he's on, and just, all right, what is this player on the Knucklehead scale?
It's time for the Knucklehead of the week.
Yeah, there you go. So, yeah, don't do the variety show. You want Charles? I'm all in. I don't want a variety show with the NBA on TNT.
All right. Well, before we get to more sports media, let's talk about actual things going on with the NBA in terms of on-the-court action. So there are mixed reports going about Steph Curry's outlook. So the story that Nick was talking about before that he'd forgotten about last week, well, it actually came out, I think, the day or so after we had recorded and aired the show, was a report from Chris Haynes, later picked up by Bleacher Report, that apparently Steph Curry was monitoring the situation in Golden State, and if Golden State got off to as rough of a outing as they did last season, that there was a possibility that by the time the 2025 trade deadline comes around, he could ask for out.
I was shocked.
Yeah, I was shocked too, because I had assumed that regardless of what happened, if the team was going down, Clay being gone, Draymond, whatever would happen with him, whatever would happen with Kerr, if Kerr left or retired or anything, that Steph Curry was going to be kind of like what Kobe was with the Lakers, that last remnant of a better time until it was time for him to go. I was shocked to hear that report from Chris about, he might request out. I'm like, Steph's not that kind of guy, I would think.
I mean, excuse me, we're in a much different era now. I know he's been with the same team his whole career. I don't know how many years it was. It's got to be at least 10 to 11 years.
Yeah.
But I guess we're in a different era now where he wants to win. I mean, they want.
I know where you're going. That he wants to win another title or two before he hangs it up.
Right, but I was also going to say they won a fluke title in 2022, which they were not supposed to win. I think they were like a 7th or 8th seed, and they made their way to the finals and won. But I like Steph. Steph has never been a guy that makes a lot of loud noise, like a LeBron or a Dwayne Wade back in the day. Or he's a good guy. He did a show on ABC called Holy Moly, which was kind of a fun show. I wish they would bring that. I wish they would bring that back.
Well, Joe Tessitore is now going to be with WWE next month,
so I guess they're not doing that. But
no.
But that was fun. That was perfect for Steph. Like that type of show.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Since you're going to bring up, oh, he didn't make noise, let's talk about the other side of the story. The one that just came out. That's why we have the mixed reports here. That apparently, this was a tweet from NBA Central. I checked. It was not NBA Central. It was not the parody one. It was NBA Central. That apparently Steph Curry and Draymond Green maybe applied a little bit of pressure to the front office too.
But they haven't done anything.
Well, apparently they've been satisfied by the moves they have made.
Yeah, okay.
Hold on a minute. I know where you're going to go with this, so I'm going to play the... What the? Oh, I hit the... I'm trying to scroll down and I accidentally hit the mouse. Sorry.
Oh, man.
I know where you're going to go with this. I'm trying to find it. Because you know what? I think you and I are going to be in the same boat on this one. What we feel about that report.
Why the fuck you lying? Why you always lying? Oh my God. Stop fucking lying.
I mean, yeah.
I get it. They made a couple of defensive moves. I get to buff up the defense in Golden State, but they have made, like you were kind of going, they have made no moves that has made me scream, oh, all of a sudden watch out because maybe they won't be a play-in tournament team. Maybe they'll actually clinch a playoff seed. Maybe they'll be a second round and show remnants of that old Golden State dynasty. They haven't done anything to make me say that.
I mean, yeah, they're not going anywhere. I mean, their dynasty run is over.
I think I believe the Chris Haynes report a lot more than I believe this one.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, well, first of all, Draymond's locked into a $100 million contract, which they stupidly signed. So he's not going anywhere. He's not going anywhere.
The only real tradable asset you've got right now.
Yeah, but if I'm not mistaken, Steph is 36 years old, I think.
But he's still one of the faces of the league, and there will be teams next.
36. Yeah.
But like we talk about it, with quarterbacks in football, we talk about it with some baseball players. I know the NBA is a little different because everything's gonna match up and stuff. But if Steph was ever available on the market, there would be a scramble.
Well, yeah, I'm not questioning that, and I'm trying to look up his contract. Here it is. So he's under contract. He's not a free agent until 26, 27. So he's 36. He's still got one more season. So, and first of all, he's got one more season at almost $60 million. So I don't think he's really going anywhere. I don't know if someone's going to take on $60 million to pay it. I mean, maybe a desperate team would take on Steph Curry if the Warriors were. I don't think they're going to trade him off contract. I think that he's going to finish a contract, and then if he wants to go somewhere else, he'll go somewhere else.
Well, I was going to say, unless there's a team that really thinks that, the acquisition of Steph will put them over the top, will give them what they need.
I'm trying to think of a team that really would. First of all, you're going to have to give up major assets.
Yeah.
On top of paying the money, which is even worse, unless the Warriors say, okay, we'll absorb, even though the Warriors are way over the cap from all the money they spent.
Because I would throw the Nick hat in there, but we just gave up a whole bunch of draft picks for Mikal Bridges, so that's out.
First of all, Dolan, well, I shouldn't say that. I was going to say Dolan wouldn't take it on, but then I realized, he's older.
Well, I was going to that, and I did say, the Knicks needed a 1A. Steph would be a 1A, but like you said, you need to give up major composition, which means ruining maybe the chemistry that you've got right now in New York. Plus, like I said, what draft capital do you have? You don't have any because you gave all that up for Bridges.
Also, does he want to play in New York?
That's it.
Because I think he's doing just fine where he is. I mean, I'll believe it when I see it if he actually is going to stay in Golden State. Draymond's stuck. Sorry, he just is. He just signed a new deal. He's not going anywhere. So the Steph Curry, I would watch.
Yeah. Speaking of Steph Curry and Stephen Curry and all of them, let's talk about Team USA basketball. So the time that this show is premiering, Nick and I are in the Playback, part of the Playback right now, along with the two of us, probably Ben Cruz too, watching the USA take on Serbia in their semifinal matchup. We were on the air Tuesday. We watched their quarterfinal matchup against Brazil. Absolute domination. A little slow start, and that's been a common theme for the U.S. throughout these Olympic Games. But this was a lot less of a slower start. This looked like the USA basketball that we're used to. And Kevin Durant, I mean, my God, setting a U.S. Olympic record, men or women's basketball.
Yeah, all-time points. I think it was like 499. I think was the all-time points over Lisa Leslie all-time for men's or women's points in Olympic play, which that's a lot considering what you have to do to play. You have to play like what 6-7 Olympics just to get that amount of points. I have to say he's been pretty good. He's probably been one of the top guys. I mean, if he did this in the NBA, maybe he'd win another title, but I digress. But my point is, this team has been great. It's the last hurrah for a lot of these guys because they're on the older side. LeBron's 39, even though he claims reportedly he might show up for the LA Olympics, but by that time he's going to be like 43 or 44 years old.
Oh, would you put it past him?
No, but I just don't know if that's really the best idea. But
I have said, I don't want the U.S. men's basketball team to get upset. I want them to win the gold, and it looks like they are obvious. It's an obvious that they're going to win the gold. But imagine they lose and they're walking off the court. Imagine the French crowd starts to serenade LeBron with "You Are My Sunshine."
Oh, God. Well, no, they're too busy serenading Joel Embiid, who finally decided to have a good game, finally.
Yeah, about time. He's scored, 13 points in that game?
Like 14 or 15, actually. But my point is, like, it took forever. I mean, and I don't blame the French crowd for going after him because he could have played with Cameroon, their team. But you know what? It is what it is. I mean, the way they're playing right now, it looks like they're the massive favorite to win the gold right now. And then also the women's side, they're going for their 8th consecutive gold as well, which is incredible.
I think on the women's side, it looks even more dominant than the men's.
Oh, it's pretty much a foregone conclusion, basically. I'm not going to say it's automatic, but you still got to play the games. But
hey, imagine if you had Angel Reese or Caitlin Clark on the team.
Well, yes, and if you go back a few episodes, I yell about that too. But
well, I'm sure NBC is pissed about it.
But again, NBC doesn't have control over the teams. Imagine if NBC had control over the teams, that'd be a nightmare.
But it's still a truth that they're probably pissed about it.
Well, yes, because then they would just show Caitlin Clark nonstop for Team USA. But you know what? Both dominant performances. I think Team USA men's basketball is going to go through a little bit of a rough patch, possibly in the next Olympic or two, just because they're not going to have some of these guys. Yeah. So we'll see what happens. But I think both teams are going to win the gold. I think, and that's not hyperbole. I think they will win.
Brandon Aiyuk. Let's talk about him going over to football for just a little bit. So there's a lot of speculation about what his future is. I kind of teased at the top of the show. You had mentioned the Patriots out, so there is a speculation already that he could be the first big trade of the NFL season, and we're not even at the season yet.
Yeah, this is interesting. I mean, the guy is a massive value to the 49ers. Let's not make that small.
Brandon the one he and his girlfriend put up those tweets after
the stupid Instagram stories that his girlfriend put out an Instagram story basically saying it's our last hurrah, Levi Stadium, and blah 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 blah. Idiot, by the way. But
there has been speculation about what they'll do now. To keep in mind, some of it is also money on the books. They paid Debo. They've paid McCaffrey. McCaffrey
just got paid. Yeah,
he just got paid, and they acquired a big enough contract already when Carolina first gave him that contract.
Right.
And now you kind of talked about, I think, an episode or two ago, they're going to be in a situation very soon where they got to talk about Brock Purdy and what.
Oh no, they're going to have to pay Brock Purdy. It's not going to be these lottery contracts, but he's going to have to get paid fair value.
Right. I was going to say, if Jordan Love off one season is getting $220 million, Tua, like you mentioned last week, all the injury is $212 million. What's Brock Purdy going to command after getting to a Super Bowl and just leading that team? you would think they would have gone down after Jimmy G left after the 20 Super Bowl, but Brock has kept them in there this time.
But let's be honest about one thing. Brock Purdy is not Tua or Jordan Love.
Yes, I agree on that.
But you're going to have to give him fair market value. So whatever the average is which is still going to be high.
Right. But then my question is, if that's so much a big priority, because we talked about that last week with Jordan Tua, can they really afford to give Brandon Aiyuk an extension?
Yeah, but here's the problem. And I'll go back to the whole CeeDee Lamb situation, which is still not figured out, by the way. Yeah. And they had to put him on the inactive list essentially now because he's not playing.
And Dak's active, but his contract situation also still isn't figured out.
I think there's similarities, if you catch on to what I'm bringing up here, that he needs Brandon Aiyuk to perform. That's the big thing here. There's no Brandon Aiyuk. He's the lead wide receiver that they have.
Yeah.
No. I would say Brandon Aiyuk is a better guy than Debo, to be quite honest.
Really?
That's they're saying it on all the shows the last couple of days that Aiyuk is the better guy. He doesn't have the most amount of targets, but he's got the most amount of yards per his targets.
But I think something that also keep in mind is San Francisco has other weapons. They have Christian McCaffrey. They have Debo. Now, the one thing I will say, if they lose Brandon Aiyuk, is it devastating? I mean, it's bad. I don't know if I would say devastating, but in my opinion, and I said it on the Playback stream too, I think George Kittle had a down year last year, and he is going to need to step up in that case if Aiyuk goes out.
I think Aiyuk also spreads the field. When you have all those weapons, when you have McCaffrey, you have Aiyuk, you have Kittle, and you have Purdy who can now throw the football. I mean, you don't know where to put your defense on the field. When you take Aiyuk off, it kind of tightens the field up.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. Like, as much as I understand this whole situation with San Fran and Brandon Aiyuk, I think Brandon Aiyuk, him staying in San Fran, also helps Brandon Aiyuk because the new teams that have been heavily talked about have been New England, who is now out, and Pittsburgh. New England, I think, because you're going to have a rookie quarterback in Drake May who needs to develop. The Patriots right now are in one of they don't have anything. They wouldn't have had anything other than Aiyuk, maybe Ramador Stevenson.
They're in free fall mode right now. The
Patriots are. Hi, Robert Kraft.
Yeah, Robert Kraft telling me don't say anything.
What's it called? But what I was going to say was like the Patriots are up there with like it's them, the Giants, another team. They could potentially get the number 1 overall pick. They could be the worst team in the league.
Yeah, I mean, the reports I did hear why the Pats and even like the Browns were a team, but now I heard they're out. Not from them, but Aiyuk and his agents reportedly, he does not want to go to Cleveland. He does not want to go to New England. So
right now that leaves Pittsburgh as a favorite.
But
now,
why the hell would you go to Pittsburgh?
Look, I mean, I get it. He would definitely be. Him and George Pickens is a solid 1-2. As questionable as some George Pickens antics were off the field.
Aiyuk would definitely be number 1. It's not even a question.
He would be number 1. The question is, it's okay. Like the Steelers right now, Nick. You know what's funny? PFL interviewed Jeff Fisher last week because Jeff Fisher was a guest there at the Nashville's Arena. I remember how all the Jeff Fisher memes were the 8-8 and the 9-7. I think that's Mike Tomlin and the Steelers right now. They are the mediocrity. They will be just enough to get in.
He's never had an under 500 record, I think, since he's been with, which is incredible, by the way.
Right. But my point being is just like their mediocrity. And now there's questions about Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. Now, right now, as far as I know, Wilson is going to be the starting quarterback. And he's going to have a lot of questions on him after the 2 tumultuous seasons at Denver. Obviously, last season, he actually improved. Remember, Denver gave Kansas City that good chase. But then once they were out of it, all that drama that happened about how bench Wilson because they want to cut him because of all the money and everything. And already the first report out from a few months ago was Wilson's on a short leash. He's got like a month. And if he isn't performing to their level, Fields will go in. Now, I think Fields got a little bit of a bad rap over in Chicago. What they're doing right now for Caleb, they didn't really do for Fields in his 4 years there. But I still have questions about Fields.
Well, I'll go one step further. I think Fields is going to win the starting job in Pittsburgh. I think Russ is damage good.
here's my question: before week 1, or you think Wilson doesn't perform in that 4 weeks?
No. I think he's going to win the starting job. I think
Oh,
that Russ is such damaged goods. He's already got an injury in training camp. I mean, the guy can't stay healthy, number one, anymore. He can't stay out of the news and spotlight. Does Pittsburgh really want to deal with that? Especially if they're going to get a Brandon Aiyuk. They need someone who's willing to get in the trenches and play. And I think Justin Fields is willing to do that.
But again, I don't know if Pittsburgh puts you in a winning situation when, you have the Ravens still have Lamar Jackson off their, AFC Conference Championship game. And now they've just added Derrick Henry. Cleveland is going to be Cleveland. They still have a strong enough defense. And now they're getting, there's questions about Watson and Chubb. But think about what we said last season. They made it that far. They had a spectacular run. It ended in disappointment, but that's the Texans having an awesome season. And, but my point with the Browns was that they did all they did last season without Watson and without Chubb. Now they're getting them back. Cincinnati, there are questions around them, but now they're healthy.
And no Mixon.
Right, no Mixon. But my point is, if you look at Pittsburgh and you look at the teams around them in their division, I don't think Pittsburgh stands out.
Well, I think you're making part of the point that I was about to make. I don't think it matters really who the quarterback is. I think there's such dominant teams above Pittsburgh that I don't think it really matters. I just think Justin Fields gives them a better...
Right. It's the same thing with them acquiring Brandon Aiyuk. The question is, but again, the question is, what are you going to give up?
That's the problem. I mean,
I don't know if they have the right to give up. So at this point, it feels like
the market is tight for Aiyuk.
And for everyone's sake in that San Francisco organization, they all need each other, it feels like.
Right. I mean, the market is tight for Aiyuk. I just don't see it. Because Aiyuk thought there was going to be a massive amount of teams out there for him to go to. You would think there'd be a lot of teams.
I think you would think so. I think if this stuff happened earlier in the offseason, maybe, but it's already August. Teams are starting to...
I could think of a certain green team that I would want Aiyuk to go to.
Well, I'm gonna tell you to take those dreams and just
RELAX.
Yeah, that was warranted. But my point was that imagine putting Aiyuk on that type of team, or Devontae Adams, which I keep talking about. Like, imagine
Devontae. You never know. He's talking about it. He's trying to wish it into existence.
But Aiyuk would be a heck of a target for Aaron Rodgers somehow if we could wish that into existence in New York. But oh well.
All right, let's go to sports media. We have about
yes.
Okay, we have like 5-10. We have 5-10 minutes. Let's quickly go through some sports media. Undisputed. So we talked about a week or so ago. Skip Bayless now out at FS1, and now it looks like the whole show itself, Undisputed, is kind of out. So there's Autumn, I forget the last name. She was a wardrobe designer.
She was a wardrobe person for Undisputed and for Fox. Yeah.
And basically posted a whole thing to Instagram, a big thank you, photos with Skip and Shannon and everybody over at Undisputed. And she mentioned in the comments the last show aired on Friday. Undisputed is no more.
Yeah, Skip tweeted out and basically said, I'm out of here. And people were like, well, where's the farewell show? And apparently he did not want one. Apparently he was fighting with the Fox executives behind the scenes. Apparently there were other reports when Skip and Shannon Sharp were doing the show together that he wanted the Fox executives to bring peace, not him going up to Shannon Sharp, which is bizarre, by the way, when you're fighting with someone.
Bizarre.
It's a bad situation. It's not. Yeah. It's really bad.
Look, I mean, that show just, I don't know. I liked Skip and Shannon. I mean, pardon me. I thought I liked Shannon. Skip, I thought was a little.
Well, Skip and Shannon actually. Shannon was the first one in a long time to really get Skip to kind of stay on level for the first time in a while.
They had a chemistry, not to the degree that Skip and Stephen A had, but there was some form of chemistry there. And then Skip disrespected Shannon at one time, and the last 2 years just.
Well, there was a few instances. One was the insult about the Hall of Fame, which was not a good one.
That's where I think it all started.
And then the incident, obviously, with Damar Hamlin and totally insulting that whole situation was not good either.
And then let's face it, the Undisputed, the new look Undisputed after Shannon, they were just putting Skip on there, and they were just doing that to ride him out of the contract.
Right. And you know what? Fox executives made a huge mistake letting Shannon Sharp go and basically staying on the side of Skip Bayless. Look what happened to Shannon Sharp now. Shannon Sharp on his own has grown to be a huge media personality, doing stuff with The Volume, which is Colin Cowherd's company, which I'll get to him in a second, what it has to do with FS1.
But your point is, now they have neither of them.
Right. Well, they have Cowherd.
No, I'm saying Skip and Shannon.
Oh, right.
Now you have neither.
Skip, I think he was going to be gone regardless if he didn't, whatever. Because at one point, the show was averaging 50,000 listeners a show. Think about that in compared. Like, First Take was eating Undisputed's lunch, like big time.
Breakfast and lunch.
Well, yes. And you look at what happened. So they basically say, bye-bye, Shannon. We don't need you anymore. We're staying with Skip. Where do you think Shannon's going to end up on? First Take.
Right. And then the funny part, like you said, even though they stay with Skip, they basically punish him by making him like the lackey on the new Undisputed, where you got Richard Sherman and all of them.
Well, they tried to copy First Take with the rotating panel of guests with Skip. The problem is Skip is not Stephen A. Stephen A. can handle the high heat, no pun intended, because of Mad Dog. But
the only one that's Stephen A. is Stephen A.
Was on crack.
Yeah. So it was weird seeing like Richard Sherman, which, by the way, if you all know the whole Richard Sherman Skip Bayless story from First Take, I can take you down, blah, 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 that whole thing. You're a disgrace, blah, blah, blah. And Skip Bayless didn't flinch whatsoever. But who did they bring on? They brought on Paul Pierce, Keyshawn Johnson, basically all the former ESPN guys that ESPN didn't want anymore. And Paul Pierce and, like I said, Keyshawn and Michael Irvin, by the way, all ESPN guys at one point, just out-talked him.
Yeah, and now look, like you said, no goodbye show, no finale. It's if everything is being said is true, it's done, over. That's it.
It didn't make sense. And now, supposedly, it was supposed to return on August 12th. It said on the channel guides it was supposed to return. I don't know if it's going to return now. That's the big, as you have, the big question on if it'll return.
Well, right now, like, I haven't watched FS1 in a while. Because like when we were first talking about this, when we were first talking about this, you had mentioned what's his name from First Things First, Nick Wright. Nick Wright. I'm like, I was shocked to hear that wasn't a morning show anymore. I'm like, wait, what? And then you told me Craig now has the show. The morning show. Yeah,
well, from our New York roots, if you know, Craig Carton has the Carton show in the mornings. And they moved First Things First to an afternoon show and remained calling it First Things First, which makes no sense, by the way. I think I agree with what a lot of people say. Nick Wright is probably the new face of the network. At some point, I did watch an interview yesterday as of this recording, because Nick Wright does a podcast on the side, and he says Colin Cowherd is the face of the network, even though he's technically not on the TV side. He's a simulcast of his radio show. But if Colin Cowherd's not here, I think the network flops. Like, he's the big draw right now, and it's a simulcasted radio show, which is bringing in views. So,
and because I have to bring my Combat and WWE into this, remember that also FS1 always did reruns of SmackDown, and now they're going to lose that when SmackDown goes to USA next month. They're losing. FS1's losing a lot of its programming.
Right. I mean, so they lost Shannon Sharp. That was a big ratings boost for them with Skip. So that's gone. Then that show tumbled, which makes sense.
And now that show might be gone. SmackDown's
Colin's
gone.
Contract is up in a few months also. So I don't know what he plans on doing. He's got The Volume, which is his own network.
What the hell are FS1 and FS2 going to be by this point next year?
I don't think anyone gives a shit about FS2. That's more of a crossover channel when something is not even there.
Are FS1 and FS2 even going to exist next year? Is my question.
I have no idea. That's a good question. But everyone's saying, oh, just put Nick Wright and their show into the spot where Undisputed was. Are you stupid? Like, seriously? Like, you're going to compete against First Take? You're not going to win.
I don't think they have anything that could really compete against First Take.
because people are saying you're going to cannibalize Nick Wright, who's your big star, up against First Take. If I'm Nick Wright, I'd run to First Take at this point if I could. But you know what? It had to end at some point. If it wasn't going to be him walking away, eventually he would have been gone. For ratings, he would have been gone. And I did this with Nick D. I'll say it quickly. Will a gambling company pick him up? Will he do his own content? Because he claims he's not done. He's 72 years old, by the way, which most people don't know. But I could see like a DraftKings or a FanDuel or a VSiN
Nick,
or...
Once you mentioned his age, I got a really bad thought in my head.
What?
Him and Mike Francesa could do things together.
Oh, Jesus. You gotta put two hateful people together. Actually, his show was simulcasted on FS1, his radio show at one point.
Yeah, I remember when he went there and Kay's first shows at Yes Network where the two bashed each other.
But he will do something else. I don't know what it is, but I don't know. We'll see.
All right, quickly. Sunday ticket class action lawsuit ruling has been overturned.
Where's the banner? I need it.
Which one? Oh, this one?
Yes. Roger Goodell is a greedy pig. Yes, because again, they ruled in favor of the NFL Sunday ticket customers.
Well, I think that this one, Nick, is not done. The NFL appealed and it got overturned. I could imagine the class action people, the class action lawyers will do their own appeal.
Yeah, I mean, because I told you the law was that it was like $4.5 billion, and according to law, they triple it, which I didn't understand why. So it was like close to $14 billion that they were going to have to pay out.
Right, that each team was basically going to have to cough up like $500 million or something like that.
But this whole thing is, there's not much we can really say about it right now because we don't know the whole aspect. But
like I said, I don't think this is done. I think
it's not done.
The class action is going to appeal, and we're going to get another thing, maybe a settlement at some point.
Probably.
One last thing, you kind of teased it before. TruTV is going to air 5 Friday night Savannah Bananas games. Nick, you watch the Savannah Bananas. I don't watch the games in full, but do you see some of the antics that they pull off?
It's the Harlem Globetrotters of baseball. That's what they are. They do all these fun things. They wear costumes. They
have all these weird rules that if a fan catches a foul ball, it's an out.
Yeah, like that. It's
banana
the Harlem
ball.
Globetrotters.
I think that's what they call it, banana ball.
Yes. So it's the Harlem Globetrotters of baseball. It's fun. It's for kids. Like, of course, when I heard that TruTV and that WBD was going to be on it, this is what I thought of it.
You know what? I'm going to go one step further. Earlier in the show, you said, oh, maybe Charles Barkley could do these games as a color comment. I'm going to go one step further. I think they should get all the inside the NBA crew, because sometimes they get celebrities involved. Like I think John Cena did in that.
Yes, he did.
Okay. I think we need to get Charles Barkley needs to play in the game, get an at-bat. Shaquille O'Neal needs to get an at-bat. They all should get an at-bat.
Shaq would definitely do it because Shaq is that type of guy. He would have fun with it. Charles might. I don't know if he could run to first base, but I could see Charles and Shaq getting in on the action of it. Roger Clemens did it also.
That's true, yeah.
So that's their big claim. Like they go to the MLB stadiums and they do all this stuff, and they get like a former big name player or an athlete from outside, and they get them to participate. That's their big thing. But when I saw TruTV and WBD, so you're not desperate enough for the NBA, but you'll get Savannah Banana games. Or you'll license college football games from ESPN. But
we don't need the NBA. We don't need it. We don't need it. We don't need it.
I guess you could say WBD is NBA, nothing but assholes.
And the show is over.
I mean, it's just one of those things where you're just like, really? That happened? Like, what? Like, I don't know anymore, to be honest.
All right. That's going to do it for us. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you get notified of everything here at the Empty the Bench Network. Yes, youtube.com/ETV Network. Help us continue our climb. Hit that subscribe button. We're past 825 in the subscriber count now. We're so close to 1,000, inching closer and closer. It seems like by day. If you don't want to watch, this show, or you want to just take us on the road with you, make sure to listen to Empty the Bench wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to follow us across social media: Facebook, X, Instagram, and TikTok at ETB Sports. Do the same for the network at ETB Network. Don't forget to go to etbpodcast.com. And of course, big shout out to our friends once again over at Playback. Anything you want to end on, Nick?
Yeah, so basically I teased really quick that we have football shows coming up. Football Forecast is coming. That's our new branded NFL pick show. It was Football Friday last year. No longer. We wanted to take the name out of it. That way, in case scheduling conflicts come up, we can now
Play around
with it. And then also Forever Power 5. Yes, that's a homage to
R.I.P.
the Pac-12.
Pac-12.
So that's our new college football show. That's coming as well. So you will be getting NFL and college football simultaneously with new shows. So make sure you tune into those as well.
Those are coming towards the end of the month. We'll do our NFL preview shows again. Forever Power 5 will premiere probably in that same week. I've got a feeling the end of August will be like a week of mostly football content.
It's going to be a lot of football content, and obviously we have some short content as well. Grant's Game Day, Bando's Blitz, doing some football stuff, Ballister Bets on the college football side. So we have a lot of short form. If you want NFL content, this is the network to come see it on, because it's going to be oozing out of your ears, all of this football content.
Could have worded that better.
Yeah, it is what it is. Well, as an NFL fan, all they do is sit and blast the TV for 10 hours. So, but
you're telling me you don't watch it? You don't watch Red Zone for 7 hours on Sunday?
Hey, you just teased something that might be a possibility on Playbacks in the future. Maybe. Maybe.
All right.
So that's going to do it for episode 244 of Empty the Bench. He's Tom Albano. I'm Nick Morgasen. If I can not get through it with choking. We will see you next week for episode 245. Have a good night, everybody.
Night, everyone.